sleepest, arise from the dead.
Read the Bible, you'll find out that God's not too happy with what's going on around us.
Redeem the time, because the days are evil.
The Bible has not changed.
Boldly proclaim the restoration and preservation of Christian values in America.
Satan has brainwashed a whole nation.
As goes the church, so goes the nation.
Nobody's convicted of anything anymore.
And now, here's Last Call with your host, B.J. Edwards.
Good morning. Got a lot to talk about today, and I hope you're all doing well. I truly hope you're all doing well. Things are happening in the Middle East.
Oh my.
Yeah, they sure are. Before we get into that, and before we get into maybe the president's speech and some other items, you're about to listen to 2 hours of opinion and entertainment supplied by Last Call Radio, where you can see the difference. We're not doctors, lawyers, politicians, professional journalists, nor either of us hold a doctorate degree in anything. Not that that would make any difference. Our opinion, of course. We only ask that you as an individual and or corporately not take our statements or those that we voice from others personal, nor do we recommend that you act on them as if they are fact, although they might very well be just that, facts. Our opinion, of course. You're not required to listen to, act on, or repeat anything you hear today, and that any information or opinion we present is meant for the good of the order and by no means intended to harm or threaten anyone. Did you watch the speech, Mr. Anderson?
I suffered through it, yeah.
I was waiting to see if they had anything about North Carolina, and I was watching the we don't have much time to talk about the speech because the president took most of the time, so we're just going to spend a little bit of time talking about it. But anyway, I was watching him, and I was watching the vice president in the background. And if he's going to run for president, he needs to do something about that frown he has all the time. It's just I don't know. I just that's not a very
He looks like he's from the hills of Appalachia.
Yeah.
Appalachia. Yeah.
It's we're humans are an interesting creation. I was doing my research for today's program, and I went, have you ever done any canning, Mr. Anderson? Any canned food type sort of thing?
Yeah.
It's supposed to last a long time, and I can understand why it needs to last a long time. Let me give you some a line here, a timeline. Canning was invented around 1810. Do you know when the first can opener was invented, Mr. Anderson?
I know you're going to surprise me with that one.
1858.
Okay.
So they had about 50 years to leave everything canned. Yeah. They're used to chili and things like that, folks.
What's the shelf life of canned food?
Yeah, at least 50 years. At least 50 years. And folks, we're over in Iran. Go ahead, Mr. Anderson. Have at it.
No, we have got to stay in our own backyard. This stuff, and I'm reading while this is going on, and we don't even know what's really happening there because the internet's cut down in Iran, and the ticker on the bottom of my TV is talking about how we might take over Cuba. That's a
American
Trump
imperialism
quote. Trump is talking about moving in and taking over Cuba next. It's imperialism. Is that what you call it when you're starting to take over other countries?
Yep.
Iran is Iran's problem.
That is arguable. The thing that I find very interesting is that We're concerned about Iran taking over the world. And then when you come back to the U.S.,
family to all our city agencies. I mean, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, sir. Family.
nice Muslim prayer there in New York. Listen, I don't know where this is AI or not, but I'll tell you what, it's our future.
Well, it's crazy, and now they're having snowball fights with the police
Mm-hmm.
in New York.
Hmm.
And I guess those snowballs are dangerous because they're arresting people.
Yep. We
I've
have
been watching a lot about Russian history. My wife's been very interested in it, in the Bolsheviks, and trying to understand what happened in Russia, prior to and including Lenin and Stalin and the takeover of that country,
Mm-hmm.
the gulags and all that stuff. It's a little confusing, but it's something to pay attention to.
There's a lot going on.
Arresting political opponents big time.
Arresting them here?
Yeah, that's no. Well, I don't know. Are we? We might be. Right now, we're not arresting anybody unless.
Well, Bill Dunfee, Pastor Bill Dunfee, may have a different opinion about that.
He might have been one of those political prisoners.
Yes, he was. He was, and we've had several on our program. This, folks, it's going to be a tutorial today and an opportunity today when we bring the good pastor on. And we're going to talk about the Black Robe Regiment. A lot going on. You've got the hearings. I think who was the Clintons were being interviewed, and
yeah, Hillary. They said a lot, didn't they?
Yeah. I don't recollect, Mr. Anderson. I'm having trouble remembering whether that whether that's true or not, or whether that happened or not. I don't remember it being that way, but who knows? Who knows?
Clinton says depends on how you define trafficking.
Yeah. But anyway, what difference does it make, right? What difference does it make? Comer hearing with Governor Waltz and Attorney General Ellison, J.D. Vance on the rampage fraud. This is stopping today. Kansas informs trans residents their driver's license could be invalid on Thursday. That's interesting. Then you got 15 states sue RFK Jr. over the changes to the vaccine schedule. If we get into this, I wrote an article for the Wisconsin Christian News talking about the division in America, and it looks like we're headed towards a civil war. The only problem is we don't have any soldiers being trained or in place, but the enemy certainly does. What else we got? Mondani, we got that. Families receive $1.5 million after Supreme Court victory over LGBT storytelling. That's encouraging. Texas could overturn decision that mandates taxpayers fund education for those here illegally. Philadelphia residents ripped council over a resolution for anti-rice rioters.
My name is John Alante McCauley. I'm with a grassroots organization called Flip Philly Red. We're here to bring you something different because you've been voting Democrat for the mayor's office for the past 70 years. In regards to Jerome Richardson, his First Amendment right was not violated. In fact, he committed a federal crime, namely the FACE Act, which protects access to places of religious places from interference and obstruction. He also committed a conspiracy act, which he plotted to deprive people of practicing religion in church service. So his First Amendment was not violated. This conspiracy act is also called the KKK Act. It deprived from the Enforcement Act, which actually came from a Republican president by the name of Ulysses S. Grant. The reason why he had to put this in here is because the Ku Klux Klan, which came from the Democrat Party, was using force and intimidation to stop black Americans from voting. You guys, every single one of you, violated my First Amendment 2 weeks ago when y'all cut my mic short. And y'all want to sit up here and cry for Jerome Richardson. You guys are worried about what's going on with Tampon Tim in Minnesota when we got problems here in Philadelphia that you need to be worried about. This is a silly resolution that I saw names like co-sponsored on there, President Kenyatta, Jamie Gunthier, Kendra Brooks, Goofy. Every single one of you, Goofy. We got a Philadelphia school district that ranks at the bottom 22% in the entire Pennsylvania. Yeah, turn your back. And
yeah, freedom of speech in America, right? Freedom of speech in America. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to bring a good friend in, Pastor Bill Dunfee. Folks, if you don't know who this gentleman is, you need to get to know him. And we're going to give you an opportunity to do that, especially if you're in Ohio. Anyway, let's take a break, Mr. Anderson. We'll bring Pastor Dunfee on after the break. BJ Edwards along with Mr. Anderson. This is your last call.
During the American Revolution, the British referred to the conflict as the Presbyterian Revolt and blamed the clergy for promoting American independence, even giving them the name the Black Robed Regiment, a backhanded reference to the robes that they wore in the pulpit. They did not only promote the ideas that led to the American Revolution, they actively participated in it. Paul Revere's destination on his now famous ride was the home of Reverend Jonas Clark, where Adams and Hancock were lodging. When they heard the news, the men turned to Clark and asked if the men were ready. He replied, "I have trained them for this very hour." At the Battle of Lexington, Clark and his men, most from his own congregation, struck the first blow for American independence.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
I've trained them for such a time as this. Interesting. That was the church then. We've come a long way, baby, right? A long way. Most of today's churches aren't even in the same zip code with the Black Robe Regiment. Bill Dunfee, come on in, brother. Pastor Bill Dunfee. How you doing this morning, sir?
I am doing good, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. What about this Black Robe Regiment thingy?
Well, I tell you what, the little intro that you gave right there, that just gets my blood fired up, brother. I tell you what, the spirit of the regiment, the Black Robe Regiment, is it just really resonates with me. And you know, a while back, I was down in Kentucky, Knoxville, Tennessee, and at the Patriot Church, Ken Peters, and I was a part of an Advancing Liberty conference down there, and I met a brother by the name of Reverend William Cook, and he's the national director of the Black Robe Regiment, USA, and we just hit it off, and he asked me to come along and to oversee Ohio, and so I graciously, after prayer, have accepted it, and I think that I don't think I know. We need to get back to the spirit of the founding clergy that John Adams would say that the pulpits have thundered with righteousness and liberty and freedom, and educating their congregations and the men of the congregation that liberty and freedom was a part of the gospel of Jesus Christ, a part of God's plan for all of humanity, and that they had a responsibility to lay and blaze the trail so that we could have this amazing nation that we have, and the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution, and so on and so forth. And so way before it was ever written as documents, the preachers, the Jonas Clarks and the John Peter Muhlenbergs and so on, they were preaching. The fact of the matter is, the Puritan pastors back in the 1600s were laying it out, and helping the pilgrims to understand that what it means to be a free people, and to how to establish a nation built upon the biblical principles and values of God's word, and that liberty is it's a gift that is derived to us by God himself. And so, even before we got into the revolution, that the bottom line is that they were creating, the Puritan pastors were creating the Citizens' Bills of Rights, and and all men are created equal, and so on. So the spirit is missing, and BJ, just like you said, the spirit in the modern day church, and especially in the pulpits in the land. And Finney had a lot to say about that at the Second Great Awakening. That spirit is just gone, and we're more interested in building and advancing our own little kingdoms, and appeasing the political winds and popular opinions, than what we are of being the ambassadors of the kingdom of heaven, and having that John the Baptist spirit that calls out evil and wickedness, and and unashamedly, and understands that we have a role and responsibility, not only to those who have come before us, our founding fathers, and the founding clergy that have given us this great nation, and blessed us with it because they are of obedience to God. And so liberty and freedom now is on our shoulders, and we have the responsibility to make sure that liberty and freedom, and the notion that all men are created equal, and believe it or not, that includes the Caucasian males, that all are created equal, and given certain inalienable rights from God, which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if it's going to be available for posterity, we, as clergy of the 21st century, have got to understand that that high calling rests upon us, and that we have the responsibility to engage in politics, that we need to be raising up our congregants, young men and women, to begin to serve, as representatives and legislators, and be gatekeepers, and so on. And that and we got to shape policy. Right now, that none of us can deny the facts that the Christian community, they that take the name of Christ, Christians in this nation, no longer are even considered in the policy making of our nation. Now, some would argue that President Trump is reviving that, and I would agree with that. To an extent, he's trying to, he cares more about religious liberty and freedom than the pastors do, but he's not going to be around forever, and so we got to realize that that we got to be on the forefront of this thing, and that we've got to be teaching and raising up generations to understand that that the full counsel of God, that the Word of God in its entirety is our responsibility to preach, and that includes the Old Testament, that includes that John the Baptist spirit, that includes over in Ephesians 5, where it says, have nothing to do with the unprofitable works of darkness, but rather exposing them, that their deeds may be made manifest in the light. And so anyway, that's what the purpose of the Black Robe Regiment USA is all about, and establishing regiments in every state across the nation, looking for and trying to discover the spirit of the clergy, that in the founding of this nation, that was preaching these truths, and inspiring Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and John Hancock, and the list goes on, so that we could have these treasured documents that we have in this experimental republic that you and I have had the freedom to enjoy for these many years of our life, but is fading and eroding quickly.
Amen. Amen.
So,
Pastor Bill, I want to make a clarification here. During up to 1763, there wasn't a right asserted in the Declaration of Independence which had not been discussed by the New England clergy. Okay, folks, that's very important. They had a say in something. Right now in America, where I see us, is we don't know the difference between right and wrong, or how about let alone defend it. Would that pretty much describe where we're at, Pastor Bill Dunfee?
exactly. Sure it does. You take a look at the historian had written, and B.F. Morris wrote in 1864. He said, the ministers of the Revolution were like their Puritan predecessors, bold and fearless in the cause of their country. No class of men contributed more to carry forward the Revolution and to achieve our independence than did the ministers. By their prayers, patriotic sermons, and services, they rendered the highest assistance to the civil government, the army, and the country. And so these men were unflinching men. These men were unashamed. They understood the times in which it is that they lived. They understand that there was a great threat that was breathing down upon them, and the greatest army of the time. That the British Empire was out to squelch and to prevent these ideas and these truths from being established. And today that the lie of the First Amendment, of the separation clause, the separation of church and state, have silenced the pulpits. But I think that they've chosen to be silenced because it's more convenient. It's more convenient, brother, that if you don't poke the bear, or if you don't tread into the territories that are controversial, that our congregants, that the body, that our communities have embraced, then you'll be liked, you'll be appreciated, you'll be accepted. And as long as you stay sidelines and in your pulpit and marginalized, then the next thing you know, then they can grow that ministry, or they can grow that church, and so on. So yeah, brother, the bottom line is this: is that we've just got to find that Puritan spirit. We've got to find that founding clergy spirit, and realize the regiment spirit. That King George, he called them the Black Regiment as a derogatory term. Because of the fact that that they were the cause of the rebellion. They were the fuel of the rebellion. And so that led to our independence. And so that because of the fact that they wore their black robes, and as the clergy, and John Muhlenberg, that in that Ecclesiastes 3 message, that when George Washington came and tapped him, to be, one of the commanders of the Continental Army, and so on, that he stood in his pulpit and said that, in Ecclesiastes 3, for everything that there's a season, and he used the words, and he said, there's a time to preach and there's a time to fight. And at that point in time, he pulled his black robe apart, and and he was wearing the Continental Army uniform, and and with his sidearm on him. The next thing you know, that he goes out, and multiple members of the congregation following, and he becomes a colonel in the Continental Army. So those are the realities, and that's where we got to understand that we're in is that the time is now. And if we don't find our spine, if we don't find our backbone, if we don't understand that we have the responsibility to be defenders of liberty and freedom, to oppose tyranny, then we're going to lose it, and nobody will be able to be blamed but us.
Amen. Bill, Pastor Bill Dunfee, you were called to be a pastor, but you've taken that, you've expanded that outreach. When did you start getting more what I'll call active in the culture war?
Brother, I've been doing this now for like at least 23 years.
Okay.
And up until that point in time, my wife and I started ministry. We started the pastoral ministry. I've been doing about 33 years now. So I had about 6 years to where it is that Rick Warren was the influencer of my life, and to the point of the church growth movement. And the church growth movement is all about being seeker friendly and don't offend anyone, and and ignore the hard truths of the scripture and things of that nature. And the Lord brought me to a point in my life that in a time of crisis in my life, that he helped me to see and to understand that, that I've got a choice here. I got to make a choice. Either I am going to be a follower of Jesus Christ and embrace the doctrines of Christ, or I'm going to be a follower of man and embrace the doctrines of men. The choice is mine. And and if I'm going to choose to be a follower of men and embrace the doctrines of men, then I'm on my own. But if I'm going to embrace Christ and the doctrines of Christ, then the Lord will bring right people into my life, and to equip me and to sharpen me and to help me to be that. And the reality is that the right people have come into my life, and you're one of them. Coach Dave is one of them. There's so many people that God has brought into my life that has helped me to see and to understand my responsibility as a pastor and as a Christian, that and as a father and as a husband, that has ignited me. So for pretty close to 25 years that I've been out on the streets advancing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And you can't advance the gospel of Jesus Christ without advancing liberty and freedom. Because where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And you're free today, and I'm free today. And brother, I'll tell you that there's three things that I'll die for in this lifetime. Okay, I'll die for Christ, for the gospel of Christ. I'll die for my family, and I'll die for liberty and freedom. I just believe that it is that important that that if we give it up, if we surrender, I went to J6, brother, and I went directly to the east side to the Capitol building. For the purpose of being a defender, not only of the gospel of Jesus Christ, but a defender of liberty and freedom. And, we were dealing with all the oppressions that came along with the tyrannical decisions that came along that locked us in our houses, closed down our churches, forced vaccine mandates, and so on and so forth. But also at the same time, that we were getting godless rulings. The Supreme Court came out with that men can marry men and women can marry women, and so on, and transgenderism and all this other nonsense. And so I couldn't sit by. There is no way that I could sit by and just simply allow these things to occur without going to the house that is creating the problems. And so the Lord led me directly to the house, and for 4 hours I preached the gospel of Jesus Christ, and I reminded the folks that were coming and going concerning, that what our founders have given us, and the price that they paid, and that we have a responsibility to be defenders of these things. By God's grace, He helped me to see that and to understand that, and to be an advocate of that, to be an ambassador for that. And so now my objective, my calling now, is to go out and to find pastors who are like I am, who that are either living it out and being it, and allowing that regiment spirit to be a part of their lives, to where it is that they preach the full counsel of God, that they have a biblical worldview, that they're not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. They realize that they are to be the watchmen on the walls, that they are the gatekeepers, and that they're way more interested in seeing souls saved and coming to the full knowledge of Jesus Christ than just simply growing their Sunday morning attendance. So God has placed me in a place where I'm able to go out and to locate some of these individuals and lock arms with them. And then at the same time, support them and encourage them, and to build a coalition so that in Ohio that we're able to push back against these godless policies that come up or come our way, and nationally to do the same. And then also to find the young clergy, or the individual that hasn't been called yet, that God is still working with, to train and to equip them to be the arrows that God has called them to be. And so, it's an exciting time. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the opportunity to just, when we went through everything that we've gone through, and over the 20 plus years of being active, that we've made national news headlines. I've made national news headlines. I've made world news, international news, so on and so forth, just simply because the gospel of Christ has taken me to the very gates of hell. And for the most part, with exception to a few of these men that we addressed, that we talked about at the beginning, yourself, Coach Dave, and Pastor Flip Benham from Operation Save America, and a few other of the activists that are on the streets, I stood alone. It was like David and Goliath, that the enemy was breathing down on us, and the armies of God were hid behind rocks, and wondering how in the world are they ever going to be able to defeat these Goliaths. And so we stood alone, and and I don't want a pastor to ever have to stand alone whenever the enemy comes breathing down, when he's got to face his Goliath. I don't want churches standing alone whenever they got to face their Goliaths. And here's the thing is this, brother, we're living in an age where it is that you're not going to have to go out and to intentionally that'd be a good word, to go out and to poke the bear and to expose wickedness. Just preaching it from your pulpits is going to bring the enemy to you. Mm-hmm. And when he comes to you because, you call homosexuality an abomination. Okay, you call abortion murder. You call Islam a lie. Okay, you call out Sharia in the land that it's got to be addressed, and you oppose it, just like Mandami and that shameless act, that shameful act that they done, with the law enforcement and doing the Muslim prayer and so on and so forth. You call those things out, brother, as it is in Canada. They're coming for you. And when they come for you, no brother should be standing alone. No church should be standing alone.
Bill, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to get a little more detail. Folks, we're talking about Mission America, and we've got a pastor here that's going to start it in Ohio, the heart of it all. Hang in there. We're going to take a break, and we'll come back with Bill. And I think JC wants to have a word or two, and then I want to get into specifics. What does his plan look like, Pastor Dunfee?
Thank you. Appreciate it, brother.
Who helps discern what it looks like to be governed by God? Who are the experts, the authorities on the laws of nature and nature's God? Do you know who was bringing the laws of nature and nature's God to bear? It's the church. It was pulpits. In fact, they wouldn't have made it through the American Revolutionary War without what was called the Robe Regiment, which were pastors who were in their pulpit speaking from a biblical worldview about God's sovereignty and responsibility that the people had to him. Who helps discern?
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
Go ahead and bring JC in, and while we're doing that, folks, if you look to history, there's a lot of talk about Nazis and fascists. If you look and get quotes from Adolf Hitler, you're going to find out one of the institutions that he absolutely positively hated, like a lot of Americans do today. That institution is the church, on record as he hated the church. Like a lot of 21st century folks are doing now. They hate the church. Hate it. And a lot of that's because we just sat by and we haven't said anything. And we don't want to offend anybody, or, maybe they won't come back to the church service. And I know if they come back, they'll bring their billfold with them. I'm sorry, folks. We need to do something. And we've got a pastor here that's starting something to do that. Before we get into the details, JC, fire away, brother.
Hey, good morning, Pastor Bill. Glad to hear you explain this stuff. Hey, I invited a guy over, a man. I think he's a good man, invite him over to the house here this morning to sit and listen. So I said, you need to come listen to this pastor about the Black Robe Regiment. So he traveled over here this morning, and you might like him, but I think he's sitting here wondering, how could I lock arms with that pastor? So I'm going to let him scoot over in this chair here for a minute and let him say hi, and you'll be able to see who it is. Jump up.
Musical chairs, last call. Here we go.
I knew who it was immediately.
How are you, brother?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing better now that I can see you on this.
Yeah, well, it's good to see you. And brother, we have locked arms over and over and over and over and over again.
Amen. Well, we aren't done yet, brother.
No, it's not. Comrade Ricky Miller. Amen. Yeah. That this brother that's on the screen right now, my goodness, between him and JC, the Lord has led us into so much together, and having each other's backs along the way and understanding the tactics of the enemy, and here's the amazing thing is this, BJ, is that God has fully equipped us with everything that we need to be victorious.
Yes.
Okay. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty to the pulling down of strongholds and destroying everything that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. And that's what we need to devote ourselves to, is just simply the study of history. Okay, because if we don't know our history, brother, and the bottom line is this: is that how can we know that where we're going? Right. And if we don't know history, we're going to be, in many instances, doomed to repeat it. Well, here's the thing of this: we want to repeat this portion of history. We want to go back to the Puritans. We want to go back to the Reformation clergy and the Jonas Clarks and the Muhlenbergs and so on, and allow that spirit. One of the things I say is this, and I think that more people will be able to grasp this, because whenever I talk to pastors about the Black Robe Regiment, they have no clue. They have no clue. The fact of the matter is I have an attorney that is very dear to me, that is a warrior force on the streets. That comes along. And when I was first arrested, I tried to help him to get to understand, the spirit that is in me. That I understand my responsibility, and that what the calling of God is, and that the Black Robe Regiment, this is who they were. This is how they lived their lives. This is what their Sundays were like. This is what they spent their time doing, and advancing liberty and freedom and training and equipping and so on, and being defenders of. And it's like, I never heard that term before. Okay, I never heard that term before, and that was a little shocking to me. It was an eye opener, because I'm like, how can you be you and never have heard that term? A lot of pastors have never heard the term Black Robe Regiment, but they have no clue. They have no clue who Jonas Clark is either. So therefore, we understand it, right? But there is a character that they do, that I think that they should understand and that they do know, and his name's John the Baptist. When you stop to think about John the Baptist, the forerunner of Jesus Christ, the Lord, whenever he speaks of him, he just simply says, what went you out into? John's in prison. Why is he in prison? Because he called out Herod, right, for adultery. And he called him out. And the next thing you know, that through a turn of events, he ends up being put in prison, because of Herodias and so on and so forth. And he's in prison, and he can't figure out why he's still in prison. And so he sends his disciples down to Jesus, and he says, are you to Christ? Are you the forerunner of Jesus Christ? Are you Christ? Are you? And the Lord says, you go tell John the things that you have seen. And after they left, the Lord begins to speak to his disciples, and he says, what went you out into the wilderness to see? A man who would be shaken by the wind? I say not. A man in his pajamas? A man in soft raiment? No, you find those type of men. You find those type of men in the king's houses, right? And I would say that we find those type of men today in the churches in America, and it's tragic. But he said, yea, I tell you that way more than this, for there is none greater, than. So the spirit of John the Baptist has got to be the spirit that is being revived within our lands. And even the prophets of old, the Elijahs and the Elishas, and when you take a look at it, to Jeremiah's. How can we avoid this spirit? And then, if you want to even bring it down to the point to where it's undeniable, Jesus Christ himself, that he addressed the Pharisaical ideologies of the time and the false religions and everything else, and the religion that the Pharisees was putting forth. So the spirit of Christ must be revived within the church. The spirit that was embodied in Elijah, the spirit that was embodied in John the Baptist, the spirit that we find in the founding pastors, the clergy, the Black Robe Regiment, it's got to be discovered. And that's what we're trying to do, is to go out and to discover it in the hearts and the pulpits in Ohio, to support those individuals, to create a fellowship with those individuals, to train those individuals, and to train young men to be those individuals, and to encourage them to engage in the political arena, in policy, shape policy, and to go out there and to begin to engage our culture. That's what we're up to, is defenders of liberty and freedom and advancing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it's all spiritual. It's all spiritual. When you take a look at the Epstein files, brother, if we
can't see them, you can't. They won't let you see them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's true. But here's the thing: is that we know enough about them to know this. We know enough about what we have just what has been released and what is being revealed is enough to know that we can no longer sit idly by. If we do not demand prosecutions, okay, if we do not demand that individuals are not only put in prison, but if these things are true, I believe that in my heart, concerning the pedophilia, the trafficking of little boys and girls, the cannibalism, and the list goes on and on, that these things right here demand, and I want to go as far as to say public execution, just simply because of the fact that the Lord requires that there be justice in the land. If you look at what he done to Sodom and Gomorrah, and with the exposure of what has occurred, with this globalist agenda, when you take a look at what the elitist and when you take a look at what's coming out with the Epstein files and everything else that we're able to know about, imagine what we're not able to know about. And if there isn't serious consequences to this, then the judgments of God is going to fall upon this land beyond anything that we could ever imagine. It's very, very serious, and we pastors have got to demand that there's accountability. Doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter where it lands, no matter who's involved with it, doesn't matter what happens with Wall Street, doesn't matter with the world economy, it does not matter. These things be true, then the bottom line is that there has got to be justice and judgment in the land, and people have got to be put to death because of it. That's how bad this really is, so.
Pastor Bill Dunfee, what does that look like in terms of let's initiate this, and you're focusing on Ohio, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. What are the first steps? Is there contact information? If somebody is listening to this and going, yeah, I agree with you. What do I do next?
Yeah, well, one of the first things that you can do is you can go to BRR, which is Black Robe Regiment, BRRUSA.org. And that's the national website right there. And you just scroll down through there. And then if you want to be a part of the regiment, whether it's Ohio or you got somebody in Tennessee or Kentucky, what happens is then as you work your way through there, that you'll see how to become a regiment member. And then what you got to do is you got to sign what's called the Gideon 300 Pledge. And, there's multiple things on it, but primarily it just simply says that you will preach the full counsel of God. It says that you will at least preach. I think that, this is pretty minimal, that you'll at least preach one election sermon a year, and that you will embrace a biblical worldview, and that you'll engage your culture, whether it's an abortion mill or whatever. You know what I mean? So go to brrusa.org, and then what you can do is then you can look at the Gideon Pledge, and you can become a member of it. And then whatever state it is. So for instance, if you want to be a member of the Ohio Regiment, then you put Ohio, and then what will happen is this: I'll kick back to me, and I'll have all the contact information to be able to reach out to these individuals. If somebody is listening, to us this morning and they want to reach me, that I'm not one of the greatest tech guys whatsoever, but one of the easiest way to reach me is, email, which is just simply William Dunfee at iCloud.com. William Dunfee at iCloud.com. Email me and I'll reach back out to you. And so that's the beginning stages of it. Right
That's
now,
DUNFEE, folks. DUNFEE. William Dunfee at iCloud. Go ahead.
Yeah, iCloud.com. Right now, I think that we're looking at, we have about 19 to 20, I think 19 or 23 states that have regiment established, and whenever they gave me or assigned me to Ohio, I had a list of 13 pastors' names that I went down through and called. I called each and every one of them, which means that at some point in the time, at some point they signed a Gideon Pledge or showed interest in it. And when I went down through that list of the 13 names, most of them didn't have a clue what I was talking about. I did end up getting one return call, and he said to me that I got two. One was, I'm not qualified any longer for unknown reasons, and then another one called me back, and we're actually working at being able to build a relationship together. Right now, what is happening is that one of the things that Connie and I done about a month and a half ago now, I think, is we resigned all of our leadership responsibilities at New Beginnings so that we're able to go out and to begin to visit other churches. And, we want to visit the churches that supported us during our 4 years of prosecution and my incarceration and everything else. But also to go out and to just discern the heart of the pastor in the pulpit and the spirit of the church to see if we can find some recruitments that way. And so ultimately what it will be is we're just getting our feet underneath of us. But as individuals come to light, then we will pursue them and introduce them to it and hopefully be able to bring them aboard. And then what we'll do is we'll come together collectively and look at whatever's going on at the state level, whatever's going on with legislation and policy at the national level. We'll take a look at what churches and pastors are up against in different areas of our state, and then begin to put out the rally call to engage and to address the issues that are at hand. And at the same time, then all the national level is behind us as well. So it's exciting. I'm really excited. I really believe that for such a time as this, that we're really beginning to see this thing come to light and to fruition. Even BJ, with your heart's desire with the natural family, how this carries over and would be able to assist, because it comes back again. If you're going to be, you got to have a biblical worldview, and the natural family is the biblical worldview. So these things are beneficial, and the timing is essential because President Trump's he's got 3 years left, right? And after that, and we're still dealing with the deep state. The deep state's embedded. We're still dealing with the globalist. We still see everything that's going on. Freedom and freedom of speech and freedom of religion is still under attack. Especially if you live in any of those blue city districts, that have these Soros-backed DAs and so on and so forth. So we're still in perilous times. And because we are in perilous times, it's going to take courageous pastors. And there's a scarcity. But I believe that there's some, and I think we got to find each other.
There's definitely a need. There's definitely a need out there. Pastor Bill, I'm not a pastor. I like what I'm hearing. What can I help?
Yeah, you sure can. Right now, what is also happening is this, brother, is that number one, you can come alongside, and we can come alongside each other. You know what I mean? Meaning that when you go to that website, you'll see that that the laity also can become members. Okay, but what it is that they take a patriot. It's a patriot loyalty pledge, is what they make. You know what I mean? So they understand the rich heritage that has been handed down to us, and our individual responsibility to a biblical worldview, our individual responsibility to preserving liberty and freedom for all. Now when you go to the brrusa.org, this is something that is still being established or put together, the Patriot Pledge. But the bottom line is that simply by going in and filling out your contact information, then that puts you back into the email list, to where it is I'm able to reach out to and contact. And right now, what we're trying to do is build a team. You know what I mean? And so individuals that are willing to go out and say, let's just say, for instance, that there's a church or a pastor up in northeastern Ohio, 3 hours away, 2 hours away from Columbus, and that he's come under attack, or we've got good word that this is a regiment style spirited pastor. So somebody can go up there. We can send a team up there to sit in the services with him, get to know him, build a relationship, and then introduce them to it. You know what I'm saying? It's an opportunity to just simply be salt and light. You know what I mean? To be the Church of Jesus Christ, and it's an opportunity to be defenders of liberty and freedom for posterity. Yeah, I have 7 grandsons, 6 with me still. And brother, I tell you what, everything that I do is with this reality in mind. If I don't, they won't. They won't have it. They won't have what I have. Even though I can't say it's being taken away from us, we're surrendering it. You know what I mean? We're laying it down. I mean, how is it that one of the largest, or the largest voting poll or segment in the nation isn't even considered when it comes to policy and so on and so forth? It's that way because of the fact that we have just turned the reins over and said, well, we're more interested in our own agendas than the kingdom agenda. And so we don't even get invited to the table to discuss these things, right? And so we've surrendered our freedom. We've surrendered our freedom, our liberties, our freedom of speech, our freedom of religion. When you go back to the COVID mandates and, the shutting down, shelter in place and everything else, I mean, that was the sifting of God right there. Any time that we find, any time that you discover these churches and pastors that shut themselves down extensively during those mandates, then there's something lacking in the heart of that pastor, and there's something lacking in that congregation. Okay. Now there may have been some that committed to it for 2 or 3 weeks and realized, this is insane. And came back and reignited it and began to speak out about it. But for those who capitulated to that thing, to those mandates, brothers, that's the sifting process. And now we know who's who and what's what. And so we can simply begin by looking for those pastors who refuse to shut down their churches, who refuse to alter their worship by putting on their face coverings, and so on and so forth, that who refuse to take the vaccines and would oppose against the jabs that were being pushed upon us. Those are the pastors that, when you get wind of them, you go find them and say, let's have a conversation. And there's a few out there, in Elijah's day, if you remember, he thought he was the only one. And in the end, the Lord says, no. But off the top of my head, I think it's I've got 5,000 or 8,000 that has never bent a knee to Baal, or Baal. So that's how, brother. And I really appreciate this opportunity. I really do. I appreciate you. I appreciate all that you're doing. I just keep doing what you're doing. One of the individuals who encouraged me and supported me the most whenever I went through all my prosecutions with the DOJ, weaponized DOJ. And when I was sitting in a prison cell next door to hell, one of the individuals that never forgot me was B.J. Edwards. And brother, I want to say thank you. And that makes me emotional. It makes me emotional because a lot of people that I had high expectations in was extremely AWOL. You know what I'm saying? But brother, you never did. You never did. You've done everything that you could possibly do for me, both to get my story out, to help me to solicit or try to get law firms, that would come and stand beside us, that the religious liberties law firms that were out there and stuff, freedom of religion law firms that were out there to come and stand beside me. Brother, you contacted, you sent letters, you are congressmen along the way, and so on and so forth. And you're the real deal. And with guys like you, there's hope in America for liberty and freedom.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. Got 1 minute? You want to leave anything? I've got your contact information there. Folks, here's the deal. We're in a spiritual civil war. Now, whether you like it or not, you're engaged in it. You may not think you are, but you are. You can either go do this as a home game, or you can do it as a away game. And this is where you want to be in an away game, folks. You don't want this game to come into your home. Bill, 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, here's what I want to leave you with, brother. I'm going to read you from the Second Great Awakening of the Reverend Charles Finney. And he says, "Brethren, our preaching will bear its legitimate fruits. If immorality prevails in the land, the fault is ours in a great degree. If there's a decay of conscience, the pulpit is responsible for it. If the public press lacks moral discrimination, the pulpit is responsible for it. If the church is degenerate and worldly, the pulpit is responsible for it. If the world loses its interest in religion, the pulpit is responsible for it. If Satan rules in our halls of legislation, the pulpit is responsible for it. If our politics become so corrupt that they deny the foundations of our government are ready to fall away, the pulpit is responsible for it. Let us not ignore this fact, my dear brethren, but let us lay it to heart and be thoroughly awake to our responsibility in respect to the morals of this nation." My handwriting's sloppy. I had a hard time reading that smoothly, but that's where we're at in the land, brother. That's where we're at, is that the pulpits are responsible for it, and we want to go revive the pulpits in the land. You know what I mean?
Appreciate
because
you.
the evidence is there.
Pastor Bill Dunfee, folks, please contact him. Get your pastor to contact him. Okay, that's you see it. You see it in your government-run schools. You see it in your neighborhoods. And it's up to you. If you see a need, that you're calling, folks. If you do see it, and it's going to touch you. There's no way you're going to avoid this. So get into the battle, being on offense instead of being on the defense. Pastor Bill Dunfee, thank you very much, brother. God bless you and Godspeed.
God bless you, my brother. I appreciate you all so much. And thank you for the opportunity.
Our
Blessing.
pleasure.
Amen.
Our pleasure.
Here's an interesting history lesson. During the American Revolution, it wasn't exactly easy to be a pastor. These pastors fearlessly taught God's Word and what it had to say about the events and issues of the times. They uncompromisingly presented what the Bible said about taxes, education, laws, public policy, good government, and the military. Their bold preaching really got the attention of the British, who targeted these courageous pastors and dubbed them the Black Regiment, because of the black robes that ministers wore in that day. Throughout America's history, it has been bold pastors with the qualities of the Black Robed Regiment who have brought positive change to our nation. They spoke out to end slavery, marched with Martin Luther King Jr., and changed the plight of urban communities. Are the issues any smaller today? Has God changed, or is it the pulpit that has changed? The Reverend Charles Finney reminded pastors in his day of their important influence and the power of the pulpit. He told them, if there is a decay of conscience, the pulpit is responsible for it. If the world loses interest in religion, the pulpit is responsible for it. If Satan rules in our halls of legislation, the pulpit is responsible for it. If our politics become so corrupt that the very foundations of our government are ready to fall away, the pulpit is responsible for it. In recent years, the traditional influence of the clergy in America has almost disappeared, not only because of pressure from those outside the church who are determined to remove God from American culture, but also because of pressure from those within the church who are afraid of offending people by addressing controversial issues. As a result, the pulpit has become marginalized almost to the point of cultural impotency and spiritual irrelevancy. But Romans 12:2 reminds us, don't let the world around you squeeze you into its own mold. It's time for pastors to re-embrace the responsibilities that God has given them as watchmen over the nation and its laws and culture. It's time once again for pastors to speak boldly and courageously about the topics and issues that affect our lives every day. America needs you. She needs uncompromising, courageous, and patriotic ministers who will provide fearless leadership for the body of Christ in these times. Join the Black Robed Regiment movement. We will equip you with tools and resources to help you boldly proclaim the truth about the events and issues of our times. For more information, go to www.newblackroberegiment.com.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
And we are back, hour number 2. I want to talk a little bit about that Civil War I kind of mentioned, but before I do that, I don't want to do what everybody else is doing, and that's ignore the folks in Western North Carolina, Hurricane Helene victims. It's folks, we need help. It's not just there. I mean, you got folks in Hawaii that are experiencing the same problem. I don't know what's going on with the other. We are sending billions of dollars overseas. We're spending billions of dollars here for folks that aren't citizens, whose grandparents, great-grandparents died to save this country. Yeah, it's just like, don't worry about it, right? No. That ain't happening. I want to bring Norm in. Come on in, Norm.
Good morning.
And Wayne, if you want in, just unmute yourself. We'll bring you in as well. What's the newest update with you?
Going to me or Wayne?
You for starters, Norm.
Okay. Well, we're getting more people to sign up. We had Wayne put us out a couple of nights ago. We had I think 14 people that joined to help. I don't know what he did last night. It was something. I had got up this morning early, and I had 13 more, and I just finished up right before the show, emailing each one of them and thanking them and put them in their email list. So our army is growing, and we need it to grow a lot more. And so, but I want to thank Wayne for that. And then you did Coach's show yesterday morning, and we got a few from that also. But, the questions that we're asking is, you talked about us spending billions everywhere else. This hurricane has only been funded 12 to 13% of its damage, where when President Trump was in his first term, we had 3 hurricanes, and we funded them at about 60 to 70%. And going all the way back to Katrina back in 2005, it was funded at, I believe, 50 to 60%, and then Sandy was covered by 70 to 80%. So we've only touched the surface a little bit, and then we've got 2 things going on. We're trying to bring attention based on a lot of cover up over there, but at the same time, the purpose of it is to bring attention and to get President Trump's attention. And I know right now that's going to be a little bit difficult with all, with the war that just started last night, but we've got to continue on. We've got a lot of people we can be contacting and calling, and I'm hopefully getting our email list. There's been some issues with it and some confusing things put out, but I think we've got that that fixed yesterday. And sometimes we'd do an email and it'd just scramble it. So I can't paste and post and things. I have to write it all out individually. So, but that's okay. But we're going to keep working at it, and I'm going to try to build an army within the army. I'm thinking. Of people that's maybe has some time every day. I don't want to bombard people 2 or 3 times a day with emails to do this or that or the other, but I do think we've got a few people out there that like myself that's has more time, and so I'm going to be probably Monday sending out a special email to try to build an army within the army that maybe can be willing to do something every day, but I don't want to put that on everybody. But,
Wayne, what's up with you, brother?
Well, we just trying to continue pushing forward. The video we did a week and a half ago, the fellow that was walking 10 miles to work and living in a tent, we got him a car.
Yay!
We got a camper.
Yay!
So we're moving forward with that. The camper will be there today. Hope to have it set up this evening or tomorrow, and it'll be fully stocked with food, everything they're going to need to get started. They've been moving around like their exact words, homeless. They've been moving from property to property in a tent because they had nowhere to go. And so we've got them a camper now and everything. We're hoping to get a space to set them up and get them back up on their feet. We've teamed up with Emerge Ministry some time ago. We're going to be helping support their 20 house building that they have pledged to do. We're starting to move forward again with our bridges in Barnardsville to get those folks some private bridges put in. So we're not letting any grass grow under our feet, and we need all the help we can get. We need some big money to come from these tax dollars we've been paying in and all of our money going overseas. That would be a tremendous help if the Ukrainian mountains there in North Carolina could get some funding.
Yeah, you're gonna have to declare your independence from the United States, and then you can get some funds.
You about right. You're just about right.
This is, ladies and gentlemen, this has been such a blessing to me. The people that I get to run across, and this is this example, the folks in North Carolina, Western North Carolina, and what they're doing. I listen to Deep River Farm is the YouTube channel, and I think are you on Rumble as well with that Deep River Farm?
I have an account there. I don't post on it. I'm on X as Wayne Allred at Deep River Farm. We're on Facebook at Deep River Farm, and YouTube. That's our primary 3 channels. But we're moving now toward trying to get seeds and everything like that into Western North Carolina so these people can plant. A lot of them don't have a front yard anymore. All their good fertile land was washed away. The fertile land, is down by the creeks and the rivers. As everything moves down close to the rivers, that's where your fertile land was. Well, it's all gone. So the folks are using raised beds and stuff. And we've got an army of people on the YouTube channel that have been sending in seeds, just boxes and boxes of seeds. The relief centers are going to be setting up gardens again this year and growing produce there to help supplement the food supply. And it's just a lot of work, a lot of people involved helping do their little thing, and it all comes together as one big effort.
I watched your YouTube last night and was a little teary-eyed. And the reason there was a lady that's been working to help the people out.
Yes.
And her biggest concern is, and I think she's 78 or 80 people, something that she's helping out.
78 food boxes now, and they're all senior citizens, every one of them.
Yep. And she's concerned that she's not going to be able to continue this, That where's the next supply of boxes going to come from?
Operation Mountain Relief.
Yep.
All of it. I mean, there'll be some stuff, from other people, but the Midway Wesleyan Church in Ranneman is really pouring the food in up there for those folks.
A church?
Yes.
A church? I don't know, brother. I don't know. I'm being facetious. I'm being facetious.
Oh yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
Listen,
round 2 of the food is on the way.
Neat. But she was very concerned. Once you get into this, you start developing relationships with people.
Yes.
And they become family. And how am I going to feed my family next week? I don't see it. It came this week. I don't know how it got here. Well, we do know how it got there. And I don't know about next week. These are real concerns, and concerns that you don't have in your neighborhoods, folks. You don't have that. I can tell you. Go ahead.
You heard her say she has no storage buildings. It goes out as fast as it comes in.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
These are opportunities, folks. These are opportunities for you to grow. And you're gonna talk to some people that are it's gonna startle you that they're in America. I almost kidded Wayne earlier. I mean, are we talking about America? We can't be talking about America here, can we? That doesn't happen in America.
Just go to that neck of the woods, and you'll see all you want to see if you get down there, the rivers and the creeks. You can't go into Asheville. Asheville's portrayed as everything's good. Come spend your tax dollars and your money and have a good time. But that's not the case when you leave the big cities.
Tourist. Norm, anything to add to that? And thank you very much, Wayne, for all you're doing, brother.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna drop off of here.
Yes, sir.
I gotta get to feeding the goats and stuff. And, it's been it just won't quit.
God bless you, man. God bless you.
All I'm feeding is flying squirrels at night and some birds in the morning and afternoon. So anyway, no goats. But
you taught the squirrels to fly. Good for you. That must have been pretty hard to do that.
Yeah, I've got about 8 or 10 flying squirrels that come out every night, and I feed them. But anyway, we just continue to need more people. Army for nc@gmail.com, and like I said, we're learning this process as we go, as far as emailing and getting our letters out and things. And one of the things that we're going to be doing, because I've had people that just work on their phone that cannot download and forward. So we're going to be doing some letters that all they've got to do is push forward and put in the address where it goes, and trying to make it as easy as we can for people. And again, I think I'm going to try to be building an army within the army of people that has more time, like I said, that can maybe make a few calls or emails every day. So I'll be putting that out next week, I think.
Neat.
So
neat.
We need
I wanted to add tomorrow night's video is going to be very interesting. It's pay to play in Western North Carolina for the politics. You're going to learn something tomorrow night on that video.
Cool.
Look forward to it.
All right. I'm going to drop off of here. Appreciate all y'all's help and everything you're doing for Western North Carolina.
You bet. God bless you, Wayne.
We'll see you.
We're going to take a break here shortly, and I want to get into the division that's happening in America, and it's there, folks. It's a force. It's an energy, and we can turn that around and use it like what's happening in Western North Carolina. We can take those what appear to be negative energies and turn them around, or give them a parallel path to something else, which I love to do. I love to offer. Well, yeah, you can get mad and you can do this and that and the other, or you can come over here and take a look at this. Kind of a Socratic asking question types thing. Before we go to break, a quote that I just love, and it's basically, if I profess with the loudest voice and the clearest exposition every portion of the truth of God, except precisely that little point which the world and the devil are attacking at the moment. I'm not confessing Christ. However, boldly I profess Christ. Where the battle rages, let me repeat that. Where the battle rages, that is where the loyal of the soldier is proved. And to be steady on the battlefield, besides, is mere flight and disgrace if he flinches at that point. Martin Luther, folks. Let's take a break and let's talk about Civil War. Yay.
To disconnect them from God, their parents, and their faith. When you remove God, you remove truth. When you separate children from their parents, you remove roots. And when both are gone, they become dependent on the system to tell them who they are, what to believe, and how to live. And that's why we're seeing record levels of anxiety, depression, and suicide. Because when you take away faith and family, you take away purpose. You strip away belonging, which is such an important human necessity. And a generation without roots looks for identity everywhere else, online, in trends and validation, and still ends up feeling empty. They're told to doubt their parents, but never the culture shaping them. They're told faith is outdated and family is oppressive and emotions are the only truth. And the result is exactly what we see now. A generation that's lost, disconnected, and dying inside while pretending to be free. And it's the silent epidemic that no one wants to admit fuels this crisis. Easiest way to control a generation is to disconnect them from God, their parents, and their faith. When you remove God, you remove truth. When you separate children from their parents, you remove roots. And when both are gone, they become dependent on the system to tell them who they are, what to believe, and how to live. And that's why we're seeing record
faith, discussion, and so much more. Last Call with BJ Edwards.
Wow, children are, Mr. Anderson, come in here. I want to talk to you. Children are a blessing, folks. They are, I kid a lot about this, but I had to work hard to get through school. And I finally got through and I graduated and I became very successful in the business world. And I thought I thought I had it all. And then God gave me children. And I recognized just exactly how dumb I was. And I've talked to people that have been, yeah, I can get that confirmed from Mr. Anderson, some other folks that know me. I'm surprised everybody doesn't want to come in right now and talk. But it is so critical for you, but also for the child. You're going to learn so many things by having a child that I mean, I can't explain it to you. Unless you've done that, you understand. You're shaking your head. You understand exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, staying up night, with 101, 102, 103 fever, running them off to the hospital, worrying about them. The first time they get into that car and drive it, oh man, scary, scary, scary. Right, Mr. Anderson?
That's right.
It's
taking care of them, after they get their license and wondering where they are.
Yes,
if they aren't checking in by 10 o'clock.
And now we have the phones,
and then the phone rings and you go like, oh my gosh, what happened? I had some scary phone calls. Very scary.
Yeah. But the other side of this, folks, is from the child's standpoint. A child needs think about this video, they need their biological mother and father. They need that sense of worth.
Well, that's the ideal situation.
Yep. But
mothers and fathers need to be responsible and how they are with each other, the spouses, and how they are with their children, and that they do perform a united, I don't want to say front, because a front indicates that there's something else going on behind the scenes. But
example, how about a united example?
That's good. Yeah. You are an example. They watch everything. What you think they aren't seeing, they see.
Yeah. You don't tell them not to drink or smoke. and then you're drinking and smoking. Oh, well, dad didn't mean that, or mom didn't mean that. It's just absolutely incredible. But when you have that child that's denied, and it could be an abusive father or an abusive mother, when they're denied,
Stop that. Just quit abusing each other.
Yes, yes. And I don't know what the ages are, and I think it ranges early as from 3 years old, maybe 2, maybe even before then. I think when that mother has that child on her chest, that there's something. I know there's something that happens with that child and the mother when that happens, and I also know there's something that happens when that doesn't happen. And when the dad is taking the son or the daughter, and he's making them feel worthwhile, there's something that happens there. And when the dad or the mother make the child feel like they're not loved, I'm not around, I'm not going to go to the game with you, I'm not going to help you with this or that, I'm going to criticize you for this or that. That starts something rolling in a child's mind. And I consider that child abuse. I think in Ohio, and I've got to double check this, but 48% of children don't live with their biological mother and father. Folks, that's child abuse. We have no fault divorce. You're getting into a relationship, maybe having a couple kids, 3, maybe 4. That's asking for a lot this day and age. And then you go, oh, look at the clock. You know what? I think I'll leave. You're totally ignoring the child's needs. It's just your feelings. I met this man in a bar the other night, and I kind of like the guy, and I think I'm gonna pursue it just to see what happens, because I know that if something great works out with this new man in my life, well, I'm gonna be okay. I'll just get a divorce. Kids will take care of themselves. The courts will decide who will see the children and how often. Is that insanity or what? Not what a child wants or needs, but what the courts dictate. Huh? Come on, Norm. Come on down, buddy. I heard your steps.
Okay. Well, this thing that you talked about, that something happens, let me explain that to you. This things that's been discovered. There are over 1 million miles of nerves within our brains that are not connected. And the first thing that happens when a baby is born is that baby needs to be put skin to skin with mom. That connects some of these nerves together. If that opportunity is missed, those nerves will never ever be connected. And throughout their life, it's interaction with dad, playing in the floor with the kids, and all kinds of things are connecting these nerves together, which is needed in order to be a complete person. And that's what's missing today. The families are so busy, and both of them are working, and you don't connect nerves together with a babysitter. Okay, it's only with mom and dad. And so again, in order to have an emotionally and a healthy young person, there's got to be a lot of interaction between the child and the mom and the dad. So very, very interesting the way God did that.
So nurturing and play are good things.
Absolutely. It's necessary in order to for them to be complete emotionally. And so, yeah, very important.
It's okay. And for those children that aren't in an environment, that are in that hectic environment,
mm-hmm.
I'm sure you could speak to that too, as well, in terms of the damages that it's done to them mentally.
Sure.
But just listen, rejection is huge, folks. It is huge. We're all born with the need to be something to somebody.
Amen.
And if you take that away, you start looking for it. And then when you can't find it, you're not going to find it outside of that family. You might find a substitute like alcohol or gangs or sex or even sports. But you're never going to fill that. And there's always that empty vacuum.
One of the problems with us not having a relationship with God, I believe the Spirit of God within us basically was to do three things. He wanted to teach us from within. He wanted to, in other words, lay his law on our heart, as the Bible tells us. Then we have good information to make good choices. And when we don't have the relationship with him in order and learning God's word, and he's teaching us within, that leads us to make good decisions. Well, without that, what happens is the third thing that God wanted to do was control our emotions, or keep our emotions in check. In other words, it's okay to laugh and have fun and to be angry at times, but they need to be balanced. So without the relationship with the Lord, then you make bad decisions, which creates emotional extremes, highs and lows. That's why we talk about bipolar all the time. And I don't think it's bipolar. I think it's a lack of relationship with the Lord that creates these highs and lows. And highs and lows are going to lead you to a lot of bad decisions because you make them out of emotion. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. This is
country counselor. Visit his website.
Yeah.
I've got if they go to the website, I've got Christian Helps, and I go through a lot of this and trying to help people understand, why do you feel the way you feel? Why do you do what you do? And so it's important. Of course, we learn about ourselves from the reaction we get back to mom and dad and siblings and so forth. So we're learning about ourselves, and we learn a lot of things that's not true. And so we have to, as we begin to get older, we need to see why we feel the way we feel and why we do what we do. And then once you can see that, then the scripture gives us a method in order to take care of those issues.
It's tough to unlearn this, folks, stuff. I'm telling you, it's tough to unlearn this.
It is.
Because once it starts happening to you, because of your need to be accepted, you have to accept the negative. This is part of me. This is who I am. If I don't accept it, then you got a problem because you're fighting with yourself. So you have to bring the bad feelings. You don't want them. But guess what? If that's all you got, that's all you got. And then you learn to carry that backpack with you into life, and change is threatening. So somebody says, well, I'm going to take that backpack off of you. Nope. Don't want it. I'm not interested. But not interested. And that is, I mean, I've not been a counselor, but I bet you've run into a lot of situations like that, Norm, where you're going, can't these people see? Can't they see what they're doing to themselves?
Yeah, and that's what I try to do in the counseling process, is to help people to understand why do you feel the way you feel? Why do you do what you do? And of course, feelings are just feelings. They're not right, wrong, good, or bad. They're just feelings. Mm-hmm. But we cannot allow our feelings to dictate our decision making. And that's where we got to get back to God's word. And as Romans 12:2, be transformed by the renewing of the mind, and we renew the mind with truth through God's word. And so the more truth we have, then the more freedom we'll have, is know the truth, and the truth will set you free.
Yep. Speaking of a need for counseling, I think JC wanted to say a word or two.
Yeah, we probably need to have some sessions with JC from time to time.
I was going to say that I need counsel. I'll admit it. But as Norm was talking about that mom and dad, that little kid needs time with the dad also. I was just up seeing my mechanic yesterday, my ex-mechanic that I had at the car lot, Mark. He's the one that had the stage 4 cancer in all his lymph nodes. Had him for roughly 5 years in my shop. All first couple of years, I ain't having no kids, rah, rah, rah. He went on and on. Well, he got cancer free. 2 weeks later, after they got married, him and his wife up at the pond, she was pregnant. So I've been going through that with him for a year and a half now. The boy will be 2 in May. And he loves this little boy tremendously. I mean, it's just amazing to watch him. I get to see all the pictures, all the videos. I mean, constantly, every week, I see pictures or videos of what he's doing with this little boy out in the field in the dump truck, on the backhoe, out with the chickens and the goats, up at his shop where he works on these vehicles. And then every morning, his wife drives school bus. He sits with the little boy, gets him breakfast, changes his diaper, reads to him, plays with toys with him. Mom gets home about 9:30 from the bus route, and then he goes to work about 10. And he takes off Sunday and Mondays now, and it's spending it with his time with his wife and the little boy. I mean, it's just amazing for a young person like him, 29 years old, to be this devoted to his wife and especially that little boy. He just brags him up all the time. He's teaching him, reading books to him. It's incredible. Yesterday I got up there, he had to show me more pictures, a couple videos, and that's all he wanted to talk about. It's that little boy. So I got to take him, the little boy, his first little bat, small bat and a ball, the first one he's going to own. And Mark's ready to go out and teach him how to swing that bat at this baseball. He's just excited. But it was just a good example.
I love it. I love it. We're going to take a break here shortly, Mr. Anderson. Then I'm going to get into this Civil War. And folks, you have, I don't know what the current divorce rate in America is. It may be at 50%, pretty close to that. But you've got children running around without the love of the parents, perceived love of the parents. Otherwise, they would be with me, right? And then you send them to a government-run indoctrination center where they teach them that life has no meaning, evolution is fact, morals are relative, multiculturalism, diversity, man, not God, is the measure of all things, the state's your daddy, and then you confirm, they already know it, that they're a victim. So given the mixture of the family, the educational institutions, what you're hearing from the news media, what do you expect? What do you expect? I mean, this is satanic. This is satanic, folks. This is division, and division with hate, which is Satan is working on. You call it Trump derangement system on one side, syndrome on one side, but it is driven by hate, and that hate comes out easy when you're being denied your parents, when you're being denied the truth, when you're told that you're a victim because of generally white male Christians. And you expect this to continue to go on the way it is? We're cauterized. We're it ends. We're solid. But I think there's some unity here that can be had. If you would, Mr. Anderson, let's take a break and we'll come back. I'll talk about that unity.
Americans might not agree on much these days, but today, Democrats, Republicans, Christians, Muslims and atheists are uniting in greater numbers against the Zionist state.
The anti-Zionist train is leaving the station. Libertarians are on the train. Democrats are on the train. Independents are on the train. Middle-aged people are on the train. Young people are on the train. Progressives are on the train. A large segment of conservatives are now on the train. Candace Owens followers are on the train. Tucker Carlson's followers are on the train. Jimmy Dore's followers are on the train. Joe Rogan's followers are on the train. Dave Chappelle's followers are on the train. Billions of people worldwide are on the train leaving the Zionist cult.
Okay.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
It didn't work. I don't know what happened. I'll try it again if you want.
That's okay.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
Along with Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, you may not have expected the train.
No, I wasn't, and that's okay. That's okay. I was reflecting on the president's recent State of the Union message. And, you know, what do you think about the State of the Union, folks?
We're at war. That's pretty serious.
Yeah. You know, if you're to ask a conservative or liberal, Republican or Democrat what they agree on, I think you all might be surprised just about how much common good that actually common ground exists between them. And Mr. Anderson kind of stuck on that. Okay. Both sides realize that the other side is a problem. So they can agree that each side is a problem. James, did you want on? You're unmuted. I'll bring him in. I don't know whether he can come in or not. Go ahead, James. We playing around again?
He's playing around.
You're breaking up.
Just kind of listen. How about?
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, you're breaking up, James.
You must be driving around.
Yeah, he's driving around trying to find a good signal.
You're in and out. He must be on his way to Michigan.
How about now?
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, I'm coming in a little late on Pastor Dunfee's comments, if that's okay.
Go for it.
I was just going to say, you know, what a heroic foundation, and what is just a good guy. You know, what a good guy, and what he put up with, and what he had to go through, and what a farce of all the prosecutions by our government. And I'm telling you, if we let those people get in power again, we deserve everything that's coming our way if we let them back in. I'm sorry.
The only problem is that there's no justice here. There's no saying, hold on a second, this really wasn't an insurrection. And the people they never got a fair trial.
No.
Some of the families are some of them killed themselves because they were afraid to go to prison. Go ahead.
I know. There are some lawsuits or litigation moving forward to try to compensate people. But you think about that one girl who got shot through the window, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yep.
And then I think Biden may have pardoned him. I don't know. I think he was pardoned or something. It's disgraceful.
They didn't do anything with him.
It's disgraceful. And that's what we've got to understand. That's what a government that is out of control can do. And that is precisely why we have 300 million guns out there. It's not for hunting deer or hunting buffalo. It's for, at some point in time, if there is a need to take on the government because they have ripped all our constitutional rights from us, you know. And I think that's the only thing that keeps us free. That's the only thing that keeps people from invading us, is they know everybody's got a gun in this country pretty much. Now, I don't know if you've got a gun, Jim, but that's between you and your spouse. But, you know, everybody's got enough guns for you to have one if you want one. But that's what keeps us free. Is I think countries would be too afraid to try to invade us physically, but they'll sure as heck come in and undermine everything about our government, everything about our Constitution that's good. So,
does a BB gun count?
Yeah, that does count, but I hope you know where I stand on my comments.
I get it. Yeah, everybody's got a gun trying to shoot Norm Davis's flying squirrels, right?
Well, like I said, Pastor Bill is man, when you think of all he went through and the corrupt prosecution, to not move any of those cases out of DC was so egregious. Thinking that an area that's 98% voted against Trump would give these people a fair trial, it's just so egregious. And all the judges, lock, stop, and barrel. You know what I'm saying?
The ends justify the means, folks. Well, the ends justify the means. The public, because they were told this was an insurrection, and they wanted to believe that because Trump derangement syndrome, right? They wanted to believe it was an insurrection. They wanted to believe that Donald Trump wanted to do this.
Yeah.
So in order to confirm my belief, we have to throw these people in jail, kill some of them.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I'm a lawyer, and we have the best legal system in the world, but this situation failed us to some extent.
That's
This
interesting.
situation failed us up to some extent. So,
You say it's
but,
interesting, Mr. Anderson?
The best legal system in the world. Of course, I don't know other legal systems, but I'm really disappointed in ours.
well, but you go to any other nation, Kevin. There's no jury. There's not a jury of your peers. Even Britain. There's no jury. Saudi Arabia, they don't. Who knows what happens there? So there isn't really any place that gives the individual the rights that America has. The problem that we have is that it's not being fulfilled the way it should be at times. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And that's everything from the jury pool to the politics that comes into the whole judicial system at times. But you're not going to avoid that. It's not an easy one to avoid, to be honest, just because
People intensive.
mankind is running it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
it
it's not an easy one to avoid. But hey, enjoyed the program this morning. Don't know how long you're going to go, but we'll be back next week. And thank you for letting me chirp in a little.
Appreciate it, James. Appreciate it. Folks, that's one of the things that I'll be honest with you, both sides would agree on, that our legal system is unjust. Otherwise, Donald Trump would have been hung by now. That's one side. And on the other side, you've got Bill and Hillary Clinton and anybody else you could think from the other side. They need to be put in jail, right? So we agree.
Well, that's what we were promised. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, nothing happened there.
Yeah, yet, like
it isn't going to.
What difference does it make anyway, Mr. Anderson?
Well, if you want justice, you got to start practicing it.
Yeah.
And appropriately. And if you aren't standing behind your existing laws, I'm finding people are writing they're legislating more and more things and doing less and less in the justice end of things.
Example.
The e-files.
Okay.
You know what I mean by the e-files.
Yeah.
Now, how long have we known a problem with this whole thing?
Well, it doesn't exist. The e-files do not exist. I mean, didn't you know that?
How long have we known the problem?
Yeah.
Kids disappearing, bodies showing up in rivers. I can't quote cases and points. Only that, we know that there is a lot of criminal activity going on. How is it that somebody goes into a government position? Let's see, what is her name? The ACO, I don't know. Went into
AOC?
Congress.
AOC?
Yeah, AOC went into Congress. A poor working bartender woman is now worth a couple, I don't know her dollar amount, but over $1 million, right? How does she go into a government position and come out with a whole handful of money? For one example, how is it our Senator Bernie Moreno is worth $50 million? Where did that money come from? I want to know.
He's a businessman.
How did Donald Trump make $1 billion on a $400,000 a year salary, which he gives away?
Well, I think with Trump, you'd have a problem with that argument because he was a businessman prior to going into this and a billionaire prior.
Well, this happened anyway. Okay. Yeah, I would have a problem making the argument, period. Evidently, a lot of people have a problem with that. coming up with that. I don't know. Finding that we have innocent people, in my opinion, many of them, arrested J6, held in prison for 3 years with not even a due process taking place.
Yep.
Let's take that for an example. How did that happen?
Well, we have this country. He who controls the information controls the country. And we have a certain set of people that are controlling the information, not just the news media, but the government run schools. And then you have the politicians.
Yeah,
and
we have that.
Man's bent, man's lean is not to necessarily do the right thing. I don't know of too many children that you had to teach to stop from doing too much good. I think you always had to stop them from doing something bad. Maybe my recollection of that is that true in your case too, Mr. Anderson?
Well, yeah,
of course it is. And it's the founders of our nation, the laws of nature and nature's God. The truth is written on our hearts, folks. It's there. We know not to kill. We know not to steal. We know these things, inherently know them. It's a software package. We know that.
Well, the Bible describes that we are given a conscience.
Mm-hmm.
And it also says the heart is deceitfully wicked. So we have a contradiction within our own being, and we have to work towards that truth and understanding that truth, which is, we all know the truth is Jesus Christ, so what that relationship, you don't know the truth without that relationship. So that, to me, is the ultimate problem that we have in society, is the lack of faith and a lack of accountability before the Lord. If you don't have that, pretty much anything goes from there.
Looks familiar.
Some people have a sense of morality. Like you said, there's a conscience, so that helps you know right and wrong, but it doesn't keep you from doing wrong.
But I want to do bad things, Mr. Anderson. It's just who I am.
I think you have you have a relationship there that stops you from doing what's wrong.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah, there is that. There is that. These whispers in my ear, these voices in my head.
I'm not arguing very well here, but there's injustice in our society, in our world. It's a global problem. We wouldn't be having a war right now with Iran if there was a true moral roadblock.
Mm-hmm.
Killing innocent people. I heard that we bombed a primary school in this recent war in Iran, killing 40 people. It was a primary school. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it was on the news this morning. We don't have much information about what's going on, who got who, or what's going on, but I find that quickly disturbing. And that right there says, wait a minute, what are we doing wrong here? We're supposed to be killing bad guys, right? Even if it's hard for me to judge if that's even right or wrong, because who are the bad guys?
Yeah, and with the schools, you're talking about children, and then you're talking about a nation that kills children
Again,
purposely for our convenience.
what nation? What
America,
nation kills children?
America,
We,
abortion.
by the millions, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We don't
yeah,
even give them a chance to get breath.
right. So it shouldn't be
And
surprising that we've bombed schools, right? Because that's who we are.
so
I'm being ornery, folks. I'm being ornery.
this
Sorry.
is off the subject of Civil War. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, actually, it is on the subject because you're going to have, first of all, you have strong feelings on both ends. Outrage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and as this keeps boiling over, and the thing that I recommend is finding something we have in common, and we do have in common that we strongly believe in what we believe in, and we believe there's a bad guy. Okay, that's on the right, and then on the left, we strongly believe what we believe, and there's a bad guy. And something needs to be done to change that.
And who's the baddest guy?
Right. Well, and that's the determination. And again, the determination is made by the laws of nature. Nature's God. It's obvious. It is the truth is obvious. You know, now if you're on one side and you're not really particularly carrying the truth, then you're going to have to lie to your enemy and to yourself. I guess to yourself first and then to your enemy. But you're going to defend that sometimes with your life because you believe it that strongly. So we have to recognize that who we are, and that's the United States of America, and that we assimilate. But what do we assimilate to? And that assimilation, the only thing that is going to be the foundation, the basis for getting back to where we need to get back to is the truth. Now we have to, with regards to the other side, lead them to that truth and be willing to have that challenged and be ready to answer those questions, but not in an accusational manner. Is where we are. I mean, we are so cauterized that it's you complain about this, you complain about that. We need to stop the complaining and start seeing that we do have something in common. We're the human race, folks. We have that in common. We appreciate life. We have that in common.
Well, we hope we do.
Yeah. Well, we do, but it's how you define that life. The devil's in a definition, right?
There you go. Then that definition, you know, about, I mean,
you want to test the definition. Go ahead.
Well, is it a fetus or a person?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that goes back to that question, Roe versus Wade. The way that ever got passed through was because of the definition was in question, whether it's a person or a bunch of cells.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a bunch of cells, then, you know, maybe it's like a liver or some other organ in your body that you can modify or do away with. Whoa, we don't need gallbladders, so we pull that out. That's kind of where they ended up agreeing, right?
The
they could kill
vestigial
babies
organ.
because it's a choice.
Yeah, but it's
all of a sudden, you know, you got to find out that, wait a minute, that's not that's not my choice. That's another person.
Mm-hmm. But we have to get ourselves back to reasoning and relationship building. That's where we're going. That's going to be the universal solvent for getting us out of what we're in right now. Recognize that what you're talking with is a human being, and it's a life, like the baby in a womb is a life. It's still a life. And because we don't disagree with it, we don't kill it, right? We don't put ourselves in a position where we're going to have to kill it, which is where we're headed. And we need to recognize that that is exactly where we're headed if this insanity doesn't stop. Stop the complaining. Both sides, stop your complaining and start building positives.
Well, and I agree with you. You know, there are things on each side of the aisle, if you will. That's what the political term, I guess, the aisle. Where there's an aisle, there's something that divides us. There are things on each side of the aisle we definitely agree with. The interesting thing about the speech, you know what I mean, the speech, State of the Union recently, was there were three things I can think of that everybody seemed to agree with, whether they would stand up or not. And he was like, well, the number one thing that the government needs to do is protect America first, not immigrants.
Yeah.
Okay. Protection of the American citizens came first. You know what? It escaped me what the other two things were. One of them, I think, was on finances, which they did stand up and agree on, which surprised me. They couldn't agree on the immigration issue by standing, but they did get some applause and some agreement when he talked about insider trading and how to prevent that.
Yeah, yeah.
And
they had to stand up for that because they're guilty of it.
Something along that line. Yeah. I mean, the finger pointed both ways, didn't it?
Yeah.
On
if you
that
don't stand up, you're admitting you're admitting your fault if you don't stand up.
So, but there are definitely things that can be agreed on both sides of the aisle. And I think it's very important that that's where you start. Like you were saying, you start where you can agree on certain things. Big or small, once you start shaking hands again, maybe you can get a little farther each step. I don't know how that happens, but that's what needs to happen. You see the same thing in not just in government. You see the same thing between Christians and churches and people that are trying to agree. Well, okay, what do you accept? What do you accept in the church?
You held your nose when you were baptized. That's not Christian. That's not Christian. Right?
I mean, well, it was sprinkled or you were dunked.
Yeah.
There's another issue, right?
Yeah.
I guess people can divide over those things. I don't think they should.
They can. We got just a couple of minutes before we're gonna have to get out of here, folks. Reasoning and relationship building. Here is a great piece of advice. Quit chirping. Quit your continual chirping at the ending, okay? Right? And physical aggression, name calling, resorting to lawfare. These aren't good forms of reasoning, folks. And that's where a lot of this conversation goes. But we have to stop both sides. Well, he criticized me, so I'm going to go ahead and criticize them. Well, I criticized him, but it wasn't good enough. I got to do it even further. And I have to have my friend over here. I have to have them agreeing with me. And then the other side, it just keeps ratcheting up and ratcheting up and ratcheting up. I mean, how much longer can we continue to call people names and push them around and disobey the law? We have to have a respect for the truth. We have to find the truth. And by the way, you're not going to find that in a government-run indoctrination center. Okay, for starters. If you put your child there, you're asking for trouble. You are asking for trouble.
Because we can't agree on what should be taught and not taught.
Yep. DEI, discrimination. Wow. Victims. Everybody is a victim. Not so. We're all blessed, to be honest with you. Especially if you're living in the United States of America. Wow. Just absolutely incredible. Anyway, in terms of let's find out what we agree on. We can use those agreements, stop the name calling, and recognize what's going to happen if this insanity, the civil war, this spiritual civil war, this verbal civil war that we're going through right now for the most part, is not going to have a good ending. That's the motivation. Look at your grandchildren. Look at your children. Look at your neighbors. Where do you want them to be a year from now? 10 years from now?
Start having meals together with your family and talking about these things.
Ooh, yes. I
mean, you know, start small. We don't have to solve the big problems if we can't solve the small problems.
Yep. We need to get out of here.
I know. So
thanks for listening in, folks. Be sure to follow, folks. Follow.
We'll see you next Saturday. Same time, same bat channel.
Amen.
Join us next week for Last Call with BJ Edwards.